He was trained by Rome, praised by generals. Then he led 15,000 Romans to their graves. This is not just the story of a battle, it's the story of betrayal, of a man who walked both sides of a collapsing world, a Roman soldier by name, a German warrior by blood. And when he finally turned on the empire, his betrayal didn't just kill legions, it shattered Rome's illusion of invincibility. Arminius wasn't born in marble halls or under golden rooftops. He was born somewhere in the wild heart of Germania, a region Rome never fully understood, full of dense forests, tribal chaos, and fierce resistance. As a child, he was taken by the Romans as a political hostage, a brutal but common tactic. Conquer a region, take their sons, and raise them Roman. That way, they'd never rebel. But Arminius wasn't just raised. He was shaped. He learned Latin, studied Roman philosophy and war tactics, was taught how to ride, command, and kill with the precision of a Roman general. By his 20s, he had earned Roman citizenship, an elite status, and had climbed the military ranks faster than most born in the empire. He was, by all appearances, one of them. But what no one in Rome saw coming was that while they were training him to serve, they were also teaching him how to destroy them. Germania was a thorn in Rome's side. The empire had steamrolled Gaul, marched through Britain, and swallowed Greece. But Germania, it was different. The land was harsh, the tribes were wild and proud, and even though they weren't united, under one banner, they had one thing in common. They hated Roman rule. Rome's approach was predictable: tax the people, draft their sons into legions, impose laws, suppress culture, and rule by fear. To many Romans, the Germanic tribes were little more than barbarians, but to Arminius, they were his people. And the more he saw them suffer, the more something ancient stirred inside him. He wore the uniform of an imperial commander, but inside, he was still that boy from the forest, the one who watched Roman soldiers take everything from his tribe. Germania was a thorn in Rome's side. The empire had steamrolled Gaul, marched through Britain, and swallowed Greece. But Germania, it was different. The land was harsh. The tribes were wild and proud, and even though they weren't united, under one banner they had one thing in common: they hated Roman rule. Rome's approach was predictable: tax the people, draft their sons into legions, impose laws, suppress culture, and rule by fear. To many Romans, the Germanic tribes were little more than barbarians, but to Arminius, they were his people. And the more he saw them suffer, the more something ancient stirred inside him. He wore the uniform of an imperial commander, but inside, he was still that boy from the forest, the one who watched Roman soldiers take everything from his tribe. By 9 AD, Arminius had been assigned to serve under Publius Quinctilius Varus, the Roman governor of Germania. Varus was arrogant, brutal, and completely out of touch with how fragile Rome's hold on the region really was. To Varus, Arminius was the perfect assistant, a loyal German who spoke Latin better than most Romans, someone who could speak with the tribes, smooth over tensions, and help maintain the illusion that Rome was in control. But Arminius had already made up his mind. He wasn't there to serve. He was there to end the occupation. And the moment to strike was approaching fast. He began moving silently, building alliances with local tribes, whispering in the dark, connecting war chiefs who'd once been enemies. Somehow, he made them listen. He told them he knew the Roman way, their strengths, their pride, their weaknesses, and soon, they were ready. It was autumn. The legions under Varus, nearly 15,000 men, were preparing to move to winter quarters. The route would take them through the dense Teutoburg Forest. Arminius, still acting as their trusted advisor, recommended the path himself. It was the perfect trap. As the legions entered the forest, the sky turned dark with rain. The narrow path forced them into stretched-out lines, vulnerable and exposed. Roman discipline, their greatest strength, vanished in the mud. Then the first spear flew from the trees. Chaos, screams, blood. Germanic warriors surged from the woods like spirits of vengeance. The Romans had no time to regroup, no chance to form ranks. They were slaughtered, one by one, in the rain. Over 3 terrifying days, Arminius and his rebels tore through the might of Rome. The once invincible legions were reduced to corpses, littering the forest floor. Varus, realizing his failure, took his own life. And when the last Roman fell, the silence returned to Teutoburg. The news hit Rome like a thunderclap. 3 legions gone. One of their own, a Roman citizen, had orchestrated it. Arminius had betrayed them from within, and he hadn't just won a battle. He had shattered the myth that Rome was untouchable. Emperor Augustus reportedly wandered his palace in despair, screaming, "Varus, give me back my legions." It was more than a defeat, it was humiliation. Arminius became the embodiment of betrayal, the ghost that haunted every Roman commander who dared step into Germania. But the empire didn't take it lying down. They launched massive campaigns to hunt Arminius down, reclaim the lost eagle, standards of the legions, and remind the tribes who held power. For years, war raged in the forests, but Arminius, somehow, kept slipping away. Arminius had become a symbol. To Rome, a traitor who had to be destroyed. To Germania, a legend who had done the impossible. He had stopped the greatest empire in the world. He continued to fight, evade, and unite. But while he was Rome's greatest threat, he was also his people's greatest problem. The tribes weren't used to unity. They were proud, independent, and suspicious. And now, Arminius, the man who had led the greatest victory in Germanic history, wanted more. He began pushing for a formal leadership role, a unification of the tribes under his control. Some saw him as a king in waiting. Others saw a new dictator in Roman clothing. And so, the knives turned inward. In 21 AD, just 12 years after his greatest triumph, Arminius was murdered by members of his own family, jealous nobles who feared he was becoming too powerful. There was no trial, no glory, no empire to collapse this time, just betrayal. Cold and quiet, in the forests he once fought to free. He had lived between 2 worlds, and in the end, neither one truly accepted him. Rome hated him for what he did. Germania feared what he might become. Arminius was the man who destroyed an empire's illusion of power, and yet he couldn't hold his own legacy together. History is full of conquerors, emperors, and kings, but Arminius was something different. He didn't want to rule the world. He just wanted to stop it from swallowing his people. His betrayal wasn't simple. It wasn't driven by greed or ambition. It was personal, emotional, political. A man raised to serve an empire, choosing instead to destroy it. And the impact, earth-shaking. After Teutoburg, Rome never fully conquered Germania again. The empire redrew its ambitions. The Rhine River became the permanent boundary, not because Rome wanted it, but because of what Arminius did. For centuries, his story was passed down in whispers. And in the 19th century, long after Rome had fallen, German nationalists resurrected his name. Statues were built, cities renamed. He became a symbol once more, this time of German unity and resistance. But the real Arminius, he was no simple hero. He was a hostage, a soldier, a rebel, a murderer, a man torn between 2 empires, who left both burning behind him.